This is a part 2 video for baritone. I'm going to show you the verse. In the verse I do this octave tapping thing. I also use it in a song called Empire State. I really like this technique. You basically alternate octaves between each hand and you get this bouncy kind of unfolding labyrinth kind of sound depending on what you play. But you can articulate arpeggios in this really kind of jaunty kind of way. I'll start by showing you how I play it, and then I'll show you the broader applications of the technique. Here I'm using 7 strings of my 8. You can, and they're in standard tuning starting with B. You could figure stuff out in 6 strings if you need, and you could definitely apply the technique using 6 strings in different ways. So the main part is like this. So the idea behind the chords is pretty simple. You have this F sharp, or I'm sorry, B minor. But you have this B minor, and it's basically going to A minor, and then back up to B minor, and you're doing this chromatic walk, and that's kind of the sound. The reason it's interesting is because you have this 9. And that doesn't really occur diatomically, so you get this interesting sound of almost a natural minor sound for a second, and that same natural minor sound a whole step below. But what's happening here is I'm tapping the 7th fret of the B string, and I go up a 4th, or it's basically the 5th of this root, which is the B. And I like the way that sounds, and we'll talk more about the broader applications, but I'm kind of walking up this minor 9 arpeggio, but it starts with the 5th, the 7th fret of the B string, the 5th of the arpeggio, or the 7th fret of the B string. It's basically a 4th behind this B note, but you got that sound, which is a very stable interval. And then I'm kind of walking up, so from there I go to the 7th on the low, the B, and I'm hitting an octave, and then I'm tapping another octave, going up to the 9th fret, and that sounds particularly cool. That's going to be the A string. I'm hitting the 5th fret, and then the octave would give me the 7th fret of the G string, because it's a half step apart, and when you're tapping them on separate strings like that, I could do this. And that has less of a dramatic sound than these two things that are on separate strings that almost overlap for a moment and give you this pretty dissonant sound. If I were to hit these together, it would not sound very good, but because they kind of hints at that, you get a pretty interesting sound. So let's hear. So then I'm kind of continuing this arpeggio, but I'm going from the 7th fret on the E, up to the 9th fret, and that's the 2 of the chord, the 9 of the chord. So this is a minor 9 kind of idea we're articulating. And then that's going to be the minor 3rd, mainly the kind of the essence of the minor sound that we're getting. And then I go up to the 5th, which is the kind of the note we started on, the 9th fret, and then I go up to the flat 7, or I'm sorry, that's actually the 4th, so that would be like the 11th, so you get like a minor 11 sound, but it's the 7th fret of the A string. And then here I just wanted something stable that I can kind of go back and forth with while he sings the verse. So basically I skip a string with my left hand, so it's not octaves. It's kind of harmonious, but it's this 7th fret of the D string and 9th fret of the high E string. So I'm alternating between the 5th of the interval, the 5th, and that would be the 7th fret, and then the interval, the 2nd or the 9th, and that would be the 9th fret. So that's the 9th fret. The root's going to be on the A string, and the 9th fret, the root's on the E string. So you get this. And then I go to this shape. And I'll do it for a minute, for a second while he's singing, but you could kind of practice it. And then you can kind of move it around pretty quickly, but I go down a whole step. It's actually kind of fun to play with. And then you can move. But it has a pretty stable sound once you get there, because it's kind of assuming the one wherever it goes, assuming this minor one sound. Also, it has this kind of almost Baroque, kind of classical, like labyrinth. I don't know what kind of like unfolding doorways or something is what it elicits in my mind. So that's kind of the main part. There's a couple little tricks in there. I go down, and that's going to be in the 5th fret. So I'm doing kind of the same motion. 5th fret on the low B to the E. So 5th on the E. 7th on the E, and then that's the flat 3rd of the chord, doing that toggling, but that's also the 3rd fret of the D, the A string, and these are all octaves. So the same thing that we did before, but a whole step down. The only difference part here is I give it some movement by going. That whole, basically go from this sound and then alternate between. And that just kind of gives it some movement. So I can go. Then I do this. And then here I do this other thing where I'm kind of complementing what's happening in the vocal melody. And I'm just going on the 11th fret of the G string, the 10th fret of the high E. So it looks like this. So you get that sound where you're saying hell no in the lyrics. The second time I just do the opposite. And that happens after this part. And that's kind of the whole part. I would just try to get that. That can be kind of hard to tap and get to sound very good and very strong. But that's the actual part. So if you were doing this and trying to find the broader application, there's a lot that you can do. For one, you can just hit a minor 7 arpeggio here. And I'm starting with the root on the E string, and I'm hitting this 5th beforehand. I just like the way that sounds. It has this like medieval quality. So you could change that by hitting something like hitting the major 7 of the minor chord, a minor major 7 tonality like harmonic minor or melodic minor uses. But if I were doing a minor 7 arpeggio, I could do something like. You can get this kind of Stranger Things sound by doing this sharp 5 thing, which is also a major 7 in first inversion. But the difference, you just have these overlapping sounds from these octaves, and that's kind of the point of it, to get these sounds where you're hitting these intervals, but they're kind of hinting at each other because they're coming back to back, and it's not necessarily like you're playing. You're getting this. And even there, I could go. get some interesting sounds of overlap. But yeah, so that would be a minor 7. And then you can put in a minor major 7 by doing something like this. You could do something like a major 7. And I'm just doing this major 7 1, which is the 6th fret to the 7th fret of the low E, the 6th fret of the A, and then the 9th fret of the A. So you get this. So I would try to learn some different arpeggios there that you can use. And you could go straight up to pentatonic, which is another easy way. To get some interesting sounds. The cool thing is when you get these kind of rolling, like jaunting kinds of sounds where you kind of keep things going. And you get a lot of different sounds. To show you something that would be a lot different would be this Empire State riff, which I might kind of transcribe. I'll try to transcribe that later. But this is where I use a lot of hammer-ons, and I put the capo on the 9th fret, and I get this kind of sound. But yeah, if you want me to transcribe that one, hit me up, just comment on this video. But yeah, that's kind of the examples of what you can do with it. So you can start to do pull-offs. I usually do pull-offs when I get to the higher strings, like with this. But yeah, so you can see how that would be more useful, especially with the capo, than the lower ones where I'm getting this kind of darker, more rhythmic sound. Yeah, and then show me what you come up with. You can do other kinds of arpeggios as well, not to linger on this for too long. That would be like a dominant 7 kind of arpeggio. Sorry if I'm out of the screen. And you could do something even, something like Phrygian dominant. But yeah, I'm getting carried away here. But yeah, that's just some ideas. Really, I kind of wanted to stress the broader concept. I hadn't have anything ultra prepared there, but hopefully you can kind of play with it, learn the actual riff, and then see where your mind takes it. Put in some pretty weird arpeggios, and I think that you would find some pretty interesting sounds and some interesting ways to kind of layer just a steady rhythm that a singer-songwriter or a vocalist could actually make something cool over or something memorable over, to where you're not occupying too much space. This baritone riff I kind of liked a lot because it sounded really cool, but it also left room for vocals. All right, thank you. Sorry about this weird position. I was trying to get the best lighting in here, but yeah, have a great night. Appreciate it so much.